What is up everyone, welcome to another video. In this video I have a special guest. His name is Michael Coogan. Michael Coogan is an entrepreneur, he's a marketer, he's an investor. He's also a president of a company called MC2 Design. In this video Michael shares his journey, his struggles, his hustle to become the president of MC2 and what MC2 does, and the whole story and inspiration behind starting his own company. Michael, if you're watching this, thank you so much for doing it. I know this is gonna mean a lot to me, my audience. They're gonna learn a lot from your story and inspire and hustle hard to become an entrepreneur as well. This is the first episode of starting this series with entrepreneurs and CEOs and CTOs. So let me know in the comment section what did you think about it, and I would love to know your feedback on this. And now enjoy the video. All right, thank you so much for doing this, sharing your journey. I am super happy that you're here and sharing your thoughts and ideas and your journey. And you've got hell of a resume. You're an owner, you are an investor, you are a director, you're a worship pastor, you are a leader, you've just done so many things. How and where did it all begin?
It's probably a little bit of ADD. Even though I do have a lot of things that I've done, for me, I'm a creative person. I mean, that's really kind of at the core of who I am. It's doing things creatively, even building businesses. That whole aspect of entrepreneurship is a very creative process, right? It's that whole thought of coming up with the ideas and coming up with the strategies and figuring out how all the pieces fit together to build something that's successful. And as a songwriter and as a musician, that's a creative part to it. In MC2, everything we do is creative. Even though we're solving business problems for clients, even though we're helping them, reach marketing goals and marketing objectives, it really is all creative. It might not necessarily be, pencil to paper, or what I do might not be, I have a good creative eye, but I'm not very good in Photoshop or Illustrator. I hire incredibly talented people who are good at those kind of things. But in the big sense, even with some of the movies I've worked on and produced, that's just creativity. It's like I'm constantly thinking about things, and thank God for Evernote. I keep track of everything. I get an idea and I put it in Evernote. Otherwise, I would lose a lot of really good ideas. And sometimes you put them in there and you look back at them later and you're like, wow, that was a bad idea. Seemed amazing at the time.
Right.
Especially those ideas you get in the middle of the night. You wake up and like, oh, that is the funniest idea ever. I should write that down. And you write it down and you look at it in the morning. You're like, you were half asleep. It wasn't very funny.
Yeah. So, but when you were a kid, did you always think that you will become this entrepreneur, investor?
I don't know if I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was or that kind of thing, but I mean, I think I officially started my first business when I was 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was, it's funny that you call this, Coffee with Hustlers. I always felt like as a kid, I was a hustler. I was always figuring out how to make money and, opportunities to make money, mowing neighbors' lawns. And, I would just go and push my mower around the neighborhood if someone had long grass, and just knock on their door and say, hey, can I cut your lawn for $2? And I would do that stuff all the time. Like I found out that if you got a gunny sack full of black walnuts, you could get like $4 a bag for the gunny sack. So I'd cart a gunny sack around on my bike going all over town to people's just random black walnut trees and pick them up, to make money.
Yeah.
But I had made some money from mowing lawns or whatever, and I had gone down to the local like little mini mart there, where I grew up, and I bought a big bag of M&Ms. I wanted M&Ms, and I'm walking up down the aisle like, what am I going to splurge my money on? And then I saw the big bag of M&Ms, and I bought the big bag of M&Ms, and I was walking back home. It was only just a couple blocks from my house, and a friend of mine saw me. He came up on his bike, said, hey, can I have some? And I'm like, for a quarter? And I was kind of joking. He's like, okay. And he gave me a quarter, and I poured some into his hand, and it was just like the light went on. So I went home, and we had a bunch of Dixie cups, and I basically took the M&Ms and I poured them in Dixie cups, and I just went around the neighborhood basically selling them for a quarter or whatever I could get for them.
Right.
But I could pretty much double or triple my money, basically selling M&Ms.
Right.
So that was kind of the beginning of it. I was just always thinking about ways that I could make money. I mean, it's like, I love to tell the story. I like to take credit for starting Fight Club, because when I was a kid for my birthday, I got 2 pairs of boxing gloves from the Western Auto. And so instead of just, having boxing matches with my friends, I actually would put on boxing tournaments.
Wow.
And charge kids, to be in these tournaments and to beat each other up.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
it was needless to say, the parental boxing commission shut that down pretty quickly because a lot of kids went home crying. But I pretty much looked at every way that I could make money or any idea that I had. I did a lot of things because I enjoyed them, like right out of high school, a buddy and I started a company called California Action Adventures. And basically it was taking people paintballing, taking people whitewater rafting, a variety of things. And so we would arrange these trips, and we never really made any money. We made just enough so that we could do it for free.
Right.
So a lot of things that I've done have been like, hey, this seems like a cool thing. I'm going to get into it and I'm going to try to figure out how to make money. In high school, I had a skateboard business because I was totally into skateboards. And so, instead of just riding them, that I would sell them to people, so I did a lot of that. So as I've gotten older, I realized what that was. It was just this kind of entrepreneurial kind of, way and spirit that I had. And, and really just thinking about ways in a creative way, figuring out how, hey, you can take this idea and leverage it into something more.
Right.
And that's pretty much the start of it.
But it's interesting. I've talked about it in one of my other videos. A lot of people have great ideas, and like you said, okay, you got an idea, put it down in your journal or your Evernote, and how do you the biggest difficulty is to implement them or to start working on it. And how do you, because you seem like you have ideas and you just start working on it, how do you get started on it?
Well, I don't always implement every single idea.
Right.
There's a lot of ideas that I wish that I did, but I don't. Some of them just naturally have traction. I think there's a couple things for me. I'm not afraid to fail. I never have been. I've done a lot of things that have completely blew up. I've had some business ideas and business things that have not worked, and I've not been afraid of that. In fact, I've always really looked at that process as part of the education. It's like jumping in. I think the hardest thing for anybody is the starting. It's go. Whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, I think the best thing we can do is just go and learn from that experience. Whether it ends up being successful or not. In my opinion, they're all successful because there's all takeaways from every single one of those things that you did that didn't work. And you're like, okay, I won't do it that way next time. I'll do it this way, or I'll make this tweak to it, but you wouldn't know that necessarily unless you went through and experienced that.
Right.
I actually feel like I'm really good at ideas. I'm not very good at execution.
Right.
Like I'm good at the big part of what I do in our organization, MC2, is that, it's the big picture. It's this is where we're going. This is the 20,000 foot view of the arc of that and where we see ourselves in the future. Right. And then here's the pieces that need to happen to make that go. But I'm not always that great at executing pieces of it. And so it's really important to get great people and hire great people. Even how I got into this business, it was, I had this idea, I had this vision about a design agency, and I knew nothing, but I had people who did. And I convinced them to start a company. I always tell people my first sale ever in the marketing business was convincing those three guys to become my business partners. Right. So it was, it just jumped in, and it was just learning, and, that really didn't work out like I envisioned it in the beginning, but I learned so much that I've carried on into what I'm doing now and where I am now.
What's the vision and culture for MC2 then?
Yeah, really for us, we've been around for 28 years. My business partner and a couple other gentlemen started the company. We were competitors at one point, and then we had a mutual friend / client that put us together, and we just actually realized we were better at being partners than competitors, and that's how we ended up. We've always really wanted to, be that kind of big city agency, and I think that we are moving in that direction, particularly in the quality of our staff and just the creativity and the ability to produce really quality things and not have to be in the big city to be in Chico. Right. We want to be the leading marketing agency in this region. We really want to help businesses to grow and get better through the creativity and the strategy and the partnerships that we really provide them. And over the years, the model and the plan has changed. In the beginning, it was very traditional, old school agency, order takers. A lot of very one dimensional. In fact, the MC2 started before before websites were even really a thing, right? So digital is such a big part of it now. So this business is constantly changing, and you're constantly having to redefine yourself and figure out your fit, And for us, it's really about these relationships. We've had clients for 20 plus years that are still our clients, and that's the way that we want to build our business. We want to have these strong, integrated relationships with our clients, where in a sense we are them. We own the ideas, that we're part of that process. We act as if we're employees. We act as if it's our own money we're spending. In fact, that's a filter that I use quite frequently when making decisions for clients. If I was on the other side of that table, would I be happy in writing the check for this? And does it make sense? And why does it make sense? And really just, a lot of our clients have become our friends over the years just because of the nature of the relationship, and and really focused around helping them be successful. And it's cliche, it's a win-win kind of deal, but it really is. It's about really understanding what they're trying to do and help them achieve those goals. And I'd be the first one to tell our clients, if we're not bringing you value, then please fire us. And if we recognize it, we'll probably fire ourselves, because we want to do really good quality work that's really, that's bringing value to both organizations.
Yeah.
We want you to be happy about writing us that check every month for what we're doing for you. And we want you to feel like, man, integrating in a partnership with MC2 was the best thing we ever did. And we've managed to do that with quite a few clients. It's a lot of fun. I think when we met before, I was sharing this whole thought. I had a job working for a entity here in town for about 10 years, and it just didn't work. It didn't work for me. It was just, there wasn't there wasn't any reward for, doing an excellent job, or for thinking out of the box or innovating or bringing value. Everybody was just there kind of serving their time. And, I went from that Sunday night, come on, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. Everybody's felt that, right? Yeah. Everybody's had a job like that. It's just like, oh man. That started progressing to where Saturday I was dreading Monday. And it's just like my wife recognized it, and God bless her. She's like, you need to do something different. And whatever it is, I am totally behind you. And that was the catalyst for me, leaving and kind of starting an early version of what I'm doing now. But I never feel that way with MC2. It's fun. I was recently been gone out of the office for a couple weeks for some vacation and some personal business, and it's like I couldn't wait to get back to the office, because even though I was working remotely, it's just like I couldn't wait to get back and to be with the team, and just the energy and the synergy that our team has, and just be around it. And today was my first day back, and I think I said it like 10 times. It's good to be home. It's good to be home. To be back, and it's exciting. And it's fun. It's fun to find something that you get a lot of joy and passion about, and you get to be blessed to make a living doing it. Right. And in fact, that's what we want culturally within our organization. We want people to really thrive there. We want the right people who are the right fit, who get what we're doing and what we're about, and can really become their best selves, within our organization. Right.
I read somewhere, love what you do and do what you love. But it's difficult a lot of people don't even know what they love. It's hard to even figure out what they really want to do, or what they're really passionate about. How do you find passion into something?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't go to school to do this. Right. In fact, I started and stopped college a few times. I never finished school, but I tried a lot of things. There's this phrase that I've heard that 20s is for training. And I think it really is, I always try to encourage young people that in your 20s, figure out who you are and how you're wired and really what you love to do. And, we've kind of been programmed that we get out of high school when we go to college, and we're 18 and we're trying to make grown-up decisions, and we're really not an adult yet. For me, I was probably, even though I was a parent in my early 20s, I was probably my mid 20s before I really started to kind of figure out who I was and kind of be able to process things like an adult, so to me, it's kind of unfair to say, hey, you got to make this commitment when you're 18 years old or what you're going to be when you grow up, and so it's like, I just encourage people to try a lot of things while you can, right? Obviously as you get older and you have more financial commitments, it's harder just to say, hey, I'm going to go off and pursue this or do that. But when you have the opportunity to really experiment and try, if you have an interest in a particular field or a particular career, figure out how you can get connected to it and involved in it, because that's when you find out whether it's beyond just liking the idea of doing it, that it's really a fit for who you are and how you're wired. And I'm also a big proponent of not making decisions about money. I think that if you do what you love and you can find a way to make a living at it, that you'll figure out how to survive. You'll be taken care of. We make a lot of decisions. I see a lot of people make decisions just about getting the big paycheck, and then with the big paycheck sometimes comes financial choices that actually create bondage, that keep you in something that you hate, and then it makes it more difficult to go do something that you really, really love.
I think the people don't try is because fear of failure or not getting accepted by what other people are going to think about it. And I have had that fear too, like even starting this journey, I was like, I don't know what people are going to think. What if they laugh at me? What if nobody watches it? Or what if this doesn't work? That things do happen, and it's difficult to deal with that.
Right. I think it's awesome that you're doing it. I think everybody should make an attempt at all the things that they're interested in doing. And like I said before, it's even if this didn't work out, and I've seen a video or two that you've done, and I think that they're actually really cool and you're doing a great job. But even if this didn't work out, it's an opportunity for you to grow and have a great experience and get to talk to some people who are hopefully entertaining and, and you enjoy talking to. The worst case scenario, you've had a half a dozen really good conversations with people over coffee. And you just happen to have it on video.
And I learned from a lot of people too. So that's a good thing. How do you manage your time? What does your day look like? How do you do time management?
That's a great question. So for me, kind of, people call it the work-life balance, but it's kind of impossible to balance, right? It's in a sense, it's really kind of having this right blend of the things that you do, but I really, I've been married for 30 years here next month.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, that relationship's really important to me, being a father, believe it or not, I'm a grandfather. There's a lot of things in my life that are bigger than what I do for work. And so I want to honor those relationships and those things really well in my life. And so I figured it out at some point by doing it wrong, how to do it right. And that's kind of making the investments that I'm doing outside of those groups of priorities early in the day. Because my wife is sleeping. She's an early riser, but not as early as I am. So, I'm typically awake by 5. This morning I was awake at 4:15, and so I choose, instead of just laying in bed, I just get up, and actually that's some of my most productive time is in the morning. So I usually don't go to the office until 8:30. And so I work out a couple days a week, and I to spend quiet time. I spend time reading. I spend time, studying. I spend time writing. I still have other creative outlets. Being a musician, I have this rule I have to create every day. So I need to write something musically, write something on paper. I need to do something that's creative every day. And so a lot of that happens in the mornings. A lot of the big ideas, a lot of the thoughts, a lot of the clarity for me is really in that early morning time. And usually by 5, 6 o'clock, we usually are pretty consistent about having dinner at 6, and I go home for lunch every single day because I can. Maybe one day a week I go out for lunch, but because I can go home and have lunch with my wife, I make that a point that I go home and I have that time, and I disconnect and I get to be there. And then we typically have dinner around 6 o'clock every night. And so I try to, when I can. Sometimes there's deadlines and other commitments that change that, but I try to walk out of the office and turn into a husband, or I have some roles at my church, ministry roles at my church, that I can just focus on those priorities and just kind of change hats. But try to be super, super efficient with the time that I have. I tell people that I work half days.
Yeah.
There's 24 hours in a day, and I work 12 of them.
Yeah.
So there's a work in the half day, but it's fun. It doesn't feel like work.
Right.
It doesn't feel like work. It's sometimes hard. I always tell people, if I was a single man, I would have worked it out that the office had an apartment above it, and I would just go up there to sleep, and, I could just stay down and work, because I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy, what we do and the creative part of it and all the other things that I have going on in my brain.
Right. You hire a lot of people. I mean, I'm assuming you hire a lot of people. What kind of qualities and skills do you look for?
Yeah. So obviously there are professions that require a lot of very detailed and skilled education, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to be a physician, there's a lot of school, a lot of education, a lot of science, a lot of knowledge that you need to know before you start cutting on somebody as a surgeon, right? Right. In our profession, really, in marketing and design and in web development and all the digital marketing, social media, content creators, copywriters, not so much, right? I mean, it's like, even though a lot of our employees have gone to college and have degrees somewhere close to what they're doing, it really is about aptitude. You don't need a college degree to come to work for us. I mean, if you walk in the door and we interview you, and we can see that you have the aptitude, you have the skills, you have the passion to do it. A lot of times in an interview, I ask, what do you do for fun? And I'm really looking to see, do the things they do for fun kind of align with what they do for work, right? Is there crossover there? Some of the designers that I've seen come in, who've had tons and tons of schooling, you could just, they need a lot of work. I can't really see how they could provide value to our organization. And there's others that walk in the door, and right away you can tell from their work, they just get it. They're wired for it. They do it for fun. They do it away from work. Yeah. Right. It's like, like for web developers, like the ones that I think that are, application and web developers, they were doing that for fun. Right. Before they went to school or didn't go to school, right? They were doing it for fun because they liked it, right? And so for us, that's really, we're trying to get people who they're really just wired for it. Like, they have fun doing those particular activities that we do to provide value to our clients.
Before we wrap up this episode and this video, what's the one advice would you give to anyone who's starting their journey? Can be anything: starting college, looking for a job, starting a company, being a startup or entrepreneur.
Yeah, I actually think I said a couple of those things earlier on, but the biggest thing is just go, right? I think starting is the hardest part, right? You have a desire, a dream, or something that you want to figure out, and I think you just need to start, right? That's the hardest part, is just to start. Even if it's messy and sloppy, that's okay. And even if you stop and start something else, that's okay. I think it's really important for us life is super short, and it would be a shame to spend 40 years doing something that you really didn't like doing, and so, especially for younger people, spend a little bit of time exploring who you are and how you're wired, and really, what really, get your juices flowing. It's like, when you're done at the end of the day, are you having a hard time leaving doing that because you want to stay and keep doing it, or are you like, I can't wait to get out of here? That should be a sign of whether you're doing something that really, fits your wiring and will really help you thrive.
Wow. I'm pumped now. Right, on that note, I'm gonna do my ending.
You're doing great. Can we high five again?
Yeah,
I like the ending high five.
Yeah. All right, until our next episode, keep smiling and keep hustling.